My son built 13 houses on my land without asking, sold them for $6 million, pocketed every cent, then told me I should be grateful he was developing my asset. But the deed my father hid in a metal box in the attic, that changed everything. My name is Catherine Williams. I'm 65 years old, a retired school teacher from Boulder County, Colorado. I drive a 2006 Honda Civic with a crack in the windshield. Nothing special about me except one thing. I inherited 5 acres of prime Colorado land from my father, worth about $4 million, and my only son tried to steal it from me. This is how I took it back. It started on a Monday morning in April when bulldozers woke me up at 6 a.m. I lived in the original house my father built in 1982, a small craftsman cottage at the front of the property. Behind it stretched 5 acres of meadow, aspen groves, and the vegetable garden where Daddy taught me to grow tomatoes when I was 7. The bulldozers were tearing through that garden. I threw on my robe and ran outside barefoot, dew soaking my slippers. A construction crew was laying foundation stakes across the entire back meadow. Survey flags everywhere. Orange plastic fencing blocking off sections of land I'd walked on for 43 years. A foreman in a hard hat spotted me. "Ma'am, you need to stay clear of the construction zone." "This is my property," I said, my voice shaking. "What are you doing?" He checked his clipboard. "Marcus Williams Development. We're building phase 1, 6 units. You his mother?" My stomach dropped. "Where is Marcus?" "Office trailer, probably." He pointed to a white trailer parked where Daddy's tool shed used to be. I walked to that trailer in my bathrobe and wet slippers, rage building with every step. Knocked hard enough to rattle the aluminum door. Marcus opened it, coffee in hand, wearing an expensive suit I'd never seen before. He looked genuinely surprised to see me. "Mom, what are you doing up so early?" "What am I doing? What are you doing to my land?" He smiled that smile, the one he'd been using since he was 16 when he wanted something. "Come inside. Let's talk." The trailer was air-conditioned, smelled like fresh lumber and cologne. Architectural plans covered every surface. Marcus cleared a space at the small table, pulled out a chair. "Mom, I wanted to surprise you. This is going to change your life. You're building on my land without permission." "Our land," he corrected gently. "Remember? You made me co-owner last year for estate planning. We signed the papers at Christmas." My blood went cold. I remembered papers, lots of papers. Marcus had brought them over during Christmas dinner, said something about taxes and making sure everything was protected when I died. I'd signed them because he was my son, and you're supposed to trust your son. "That was just estate planning," I whispered. "Mom, read the fine print." He pulled out a folder, slid a document across the table. "Joint ownership with rights of survivorship. I'm listed as co-owner and managing partner, which means I can make development decisions." I stared at my signature at the bottom of the page. December 23rd, right after my second glass of wine. "This is 13 single-family homes," Marcus continued, turning his laptop toward me. "Modern construction, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Market price, $475,000 each. We're looking at $6.2 million in gross sales. You'll get 40%. $2.5 million, Mom. Tax-free because it's on inherited land. You'll never have to worry about money again." My hands were shaking. "I don't want houses on Daddy's land. Daddy's been dead for 3 years. His voice was still gentle, but something cold flickered behind his eyes. "The land has just been sitting here. You're 65. You live on a teacher's pension. This is your retirement, secured. You should have asked me. I'm asking you now." He reached across the table, squeezed my hand. "Mom, I've already invested $300,000. Permits, surveys, contractors. Construction starts today. In 6 months, you'll be a millionaire. Stop construction." "I can't. I have contracts. I have buyers already lined up. If I stop now, I lose everything." I pulled my hand away. "Then you should have asked first." His jaw tightened. "Mom, don't make this difficult. This is a gift. I'm trying to take care of you." "By stealing my land?" The gentleness vanished. "I'm not stealing anything. I'm legally listed as co-owner and managing partner. Check with any lawyer. What I'm doing is completely legal." I stood up, legs wobbling. "We'll see about that." As I walked out, he called after me. "Mom, if you fight this, you'll lose, and it'll cost you everything you have." I drove straight to Kathleen Brennan's office. Kathleen had been my father's attorney for 30 years, a sharp woman in her 70s who'd helped me with Daddy's estate. Her office smelled like old books and lemon furniture polish, the kind of smell that made you feel protected. I showed her the papers, all of them, the Christmas documents, the architectural plans, Marcus's development permit. Kathleen read through everything twice, her mouth getting tighter with each page. Finally, she set them down and looked at me over her reading glasses. Catherine, this is bad. How bad? He's right. You did sign joint ownership, and the managing partner clause gives him authority to make development decisions without your consent. She paused. This is legal fraud. He tricked you into signing away control of your own property. My vision blurred with tears. Can I stop him? Maybe, but it'll be expensive. Litigation like this costs $50,000 minimum, and there's no guarantee you'll win. He filed permits properly. He has signed documents. A judge might say you should have read what you were signing. I trusted him. I know. Her voice softened. But the law doesn't care about trust. I drove home in a fog, pulled into my driveway and sat in my car, watching bulldozers tear up my father's land. 43 years of memories being erased for profit. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Daddy's voice from 3 days before he died. The attic box, Catherine. Everything you need is in the attic box. Don't let anyone take what's yours. At 2 a.m., I climbed into the attic with a flashlight. The metal box was exactly where he'd said, tucked behind Christmas decorations under a cedar-smelling blanket. I opened it with the key he'd given me. Inside, legal documents, survey maps, photographs, and a letter in Daddy's handwriting dated 3 days before his death. My dearest Catherine, it began. If you're reading this, someone has tried to take what belongs to you. I'm not surprised. I saw this coming. My hands trembled as I read. Daddy had been sick for months, but his mind had been sharp enough to notice Marcus visiting him alone in the hospital, asking questions about the property, about inheritance, about how to maximize Catherine's financial security. Daddy had smiled and nodded. Let Marcus think he was a dying old man who didn't understand. Then he'd called Kathleen Brennan. At the bottom of the box was a deed, not the one in my filing cabinet. The real one, registered with Boulder County 2 weeks before Daddy's death. The property wasn't in joint ownership. It was in an irrevocable trust. Catherine Williams, sole trustee and beneficiary. The trust document was crystal clear. The land could not be sold, developed, or transferred without written approval from an independent legal counsel appointed by the trust. Any attempt to do so would result in immediate legal action and criminal fraud charges. Marcus's Christmas papers were worthless. He'd based them on an old deed that had been legally superseded by the trust. Daddy had protected me from beyond the grave. I sat on that attic floor until sunrise, crying and laughing at the same time. Then I called Kathleen Brennan. She answered on the second ring, voice sharp despite the early hour. Catherine, I found it. The trust deed. Daddy registered it 2 weeks before he died. Silence. Then, bring it to my office. Now. An hour later, Kathleen held the trust document under her desk lamp, reading it with the focus of a jeweler examining a diamond. When she finished, she looked up and smiled for the first time since I'd known her. Your father was brilliant. Can we stop Marcus? Stop him? Catherine, we're going to destroy him. She made 3 phone calls. First to the county permit office. Second to Marcus's construction company. Third to Marcus himself. I listened to that last call on speakerphone. Mr. Williams, this is Kathleen Brennan, attorney for Catherine Williams and the William Flynn Trust. I'm calling to inform you that all construction on parcel APN 38942247 must cease immediately. Your development permits were obtained through fraudulent documentation. The property is held in an irrevocable trust that supersedes any co-ownership agreements. You have 24 hours to halt construction, or we're filing criminal fraud charges with the district attorney. Marcus's voice came through, tight with panic. That's impossible. I have the deed. I have signed documents. You have documents based on an outdated deed that was legally replaced 3 years ago. Your mother's signature on your Christmas papers is meaningless because she doesn't have the authority to transfer trust property. The trust does, and the trust says no. You can't prove that. The trust deed is recorded with Boulder County, registration number TR 2019-847, filed October 3rd, 2019, 2 weeks before your grandfather died. Would you like me to email you a copy, or would you prefer to receive it from the sheriff when he serves you with a restraining order? Silence. 24 hours, Mr. Williams. After that, I'm calling the DA. She hung up, looked at me with something like respect. Now we wait. Marcus showed up at my house that night, 7 p.m., still in his suit but rumpled now, tie loose, eyes red. I met him on the front porch, didn't invite him in. "Mom, we need to talk." "Talk." He ran his hand through his hair. "Kathleen Brennan called. She's threatening criminal charges. That's insane. This is a family matter. Family matters don't involve fraud. I didn't commit fraud. I had papers, legal papers you signed, papers you tricked me into signing during Christmas after wine without explaining what they actually meant. Mom, I've invested $300,000 in this project. If you stop construction now, I lose everything. My business folds. I'll have to declare bankruptcy. You should have thought about that before you lied to me." His face changed. The gentleness vanished completely. "You're really going to do this? Destroy your own son over a piece of land? You tried to destroy me over $6 million. I was trying to help you." My voice dropped to ice. "If you wanted to help me, you would have asked. You would have explained. You would have treated me like a person instead of an obstacle." "Mom, please." His voice cracked. "I have buyers, contracts. If I back out, they'll sue me. I'll lose my house. Amanda will leave me. Everything I've built will be gone." For a moment, just a moment, I felt the pull. The instinct to protect your child from consequences, to fix things, to sacrifice yourself so they don't suffer. Then I remembered the bulldozers tearing up Daddy's garden. Remembered Marcus's smile when he said, "You should have read what you were signing. You made your choices," I said. "Now live with them." He stared at me. "Who even are you? My mother would never do this. Your mother is exactly who you made her. Someone who learned not to trust you." He turned and walked to his car, paused with his hand on the door. "I'll fight this. I'll get lawyers. I'll prove those trust documents are fake. They're recorded with the county, Marcus, notarized, signed by a judge. Good luck." He drove away. I watched his taillights disappear, then went inside and locked the door. Construction stopped the next morning, but Marcus wasn't done. 3 days later, I got a letter from Dalton and Pierce, attorneys at law, 8 pages of legal threats claiming the trust was invalid, demanding I submit to a competency evaluation, suggesting my father had been senile when he signed the trust documents. Kathleen read it and laughed. "They're desperate. This is what lawyers do when they have no case. They make noise and hope you get scared." "I am scared." "Good, fear keeps you sharp." She pulled out a yellow legal pad. "Here's what we're going to do. We're not just defending, we're going on offense." She filed a lawsuit. Catherine Williams, trustee of the William Flint Trust versus Marcus Williams and Williams Development LLC. Claims: fraud, elder abuse, breach of fiduciary duty, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and attempted theft of trust property. Damages sought: full restitution of all money Marcus had fraudulently extracted from the trust, plus $3 million in punitive damages. $3 million? I stared at the filing. He doesn't have $3 million. Exactly. When he realizes he could lose everything, including his house, he'll settle. And the settlement will include a permanent injunction, preventing him from ever claiming any interest in the trust property. The case went to discovery. Kathleen subpoenaed Marcus's financial records, emails, and phone records. What she found made my skin crawl. Marcus had been planning this for 18 months. Email chains with his business partner about neutralizing mother's ownership interest. Text messages to his wife. If I can get her to sign before she talks to a lawyer, we're golden. He'd researched elder financial abuse laws specifically to find loopholes. He'd calculated exactly how much wine to pour me at Christmas dinner to make me compliant but not suspicious. This wasn't an impulsive mistake. It was premeditated theft. Kathleen showed me everything. "Catherine, I need you to see this. Not because I want to hurt you, but because you need to understand who you're dealing with. This person is not the boy you raised. He's a predator who happens to share your DNA." I read the emails. Saw my own son describe me as manageable and easily influenced. Saw him joke about inheritance acceleration strategies. Something inside me broke, or maybe it finally healed. "Bury him," I said. The deposition was scheduled for June 15th at the Boulder County Courthouse. Marcus showed up in a suit that probably cost $2,000, flanked by 2 attorneys. He looked confident, almost smug. Kathleen destroyed him in 40 minutes. She walked him through every email, every text message, every calculation. Made him read aloud his own words, describing how to manipulate his elderly mother. The court reporter's fingers flew across her stenograph machine. recording every damning syllable. By the end, Marcus's face was gray. His lawyers were whispering frantically. Kathleen closed her notebook. No further questions. 2 weeks later, Marcus's attorneys called requesting a settlement conference. We met in Kathleen's conference room. Marcus, his 2 lawyers, Kathleen, and me. Marcus wouldn't look at me, just stared at the table while his lead attorney, a man named Philip Dalton, made his pitch. Mrs. Williams, my client acknowledges that mistakes were made. Communication could have been better, but this has become unnecessarily adversarial. We'd like to propose a settlement. Kathleen leaned back in her chair. We're listening. Marcus will relinquish all claims to the property. He'll sign a quit-claim deed and a permanent injunction. In exchange, you drop the lawsuit and we all move on. What about the $300,000 he claims to have invested? He absorbs that loss. Kathleen looked at me. Catherine? I looked at Marcus for the first time since he'd arrived. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. No, I said. Philip blinked. Excuse me? No settlement. I want a trial. I want a jury to hear what he did. I want it in public record. Mrs. Williams, a trial will cost you $30,000 in legal fees minimum. You'll spend months in litigation. For what? You've already won. Take the settlement. I want him to apologize. The room went silent. Marcus finally looked up. What? Apologize. Here. Now. Tell me the truth about what you did and why. His lawyer started to speak, but Marcus held up his hand. For a long moment he just stared at me. Then quietly, I'm sorry. For what? For the papers. For not asking. Try again. His jaw tightened. Mom, I said I'm sorry. What more do you want? The truth. Tell me the truth, Marcus. His facade cracked. Fine. You want the truth? I needed the money. My business was failing. I had debts. The property was just sitting there doing nothing while you lived in that tiny house on a teacher's pension. It seemed stupid not to use it. So you decided to steal it. I wasn't stealing. I was developing. And yes, I should have asked, but you would have said no because you're sentimental about every blade of grass Grandpa ever looked at. So I found a legal way to move forward without your permission, by getting me drunk and tricking me into signing documents I didn't understand. He didn't answer. That's not an apology, I said. That's a confession. I stood up. Kathleen, I'll see you in court. We walked out. Behind us, I heard Marcus shouting something, but I didn't stop. The trial was scheduled for September, but in August, Marcus's business partner sued him for fraud in an unrelated real estate deal. The Colorado Real Estate Commission opened an investigation. His wife filed for divorce. His entire life was collapsing. Kathleen called me on August 28th. Marcus's attorneys want to settle. New offer. Complete relinquishment of all property claims, public apology filed with the court, and he pays your legal fees. All of them. What's he getting? You dropped the punitive damages claim. He avoids a public trial. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about revenge versus justice. Thought about Daddy's note. Don't let them take what's yours. Accept it, I said. But I want the apology in writing, and I want it to include the word fraud. The settlement was finalized September 15th. Marcus signed a notarized letter admitting he had committed fraud through misrepresentation and manipulation of a vulnerable adult, me. He relinquished all claims. He paid $63,000 in legal fees, and I never spoke to him again. Not because I'm cruel, but because some betrayals are too fundamental to repair. He didn't see me as his mother. He saw me as an asset to be managed. That's not love. That's not even family. That's a business transaction that went wrong. I'm 67 now, still living in Daddy's house. The 5 acres behind me are exactly as they were. Meadow and aspen, and the vegetable garden I replanted last spring. Sometimes I sit on the back porch with coffee and watch deer graze at dawn. The land is worth $6 million now, maybe 7. I'll probably never develop it. When I die, it goes to a conservation trust, protected forever. Marcus lives in Denver, remarried, started a new business doing something with cryptocurrency. I heard all this through my daughter-in-law, Amanda, who sends me Christmas cards, even though she's divorced from Marcus now. She wrote last year, I'm sorry I didn't see what he was doing to you. I was so focused on our lifestyle. I didn't ask where the money was coming from. I wrote back, we see what we're ready to see. Don't apologize for his choices. Here's what I learned. Trust is earned, not inherited, not even by your children. Especially not by your children when money is involved. Always read what you sign. Always. And keep your receipts. All of them. Every property tax payment, every survey, every letter. Because someday, Someone you love might try to take what's yours, and the only thing that will save you is documentation. My father knew that. He kept 50 years of receipts in tobacco-scented ledgers because he understood that love isn't enough to protect you. You need evidence. So here's my question. Have you ever had family try to take something from you? Property, money, inheritance? How did you fight back? Drop your story in the comments. Let's build a library of survival. And if this story reminded you that you're not alone, that betrayal doesn't mean you're weak, that fighting back is possible, hit subscribe, because I've got more stories about ordinary people who refused to be victims. Next week, my sister emptied our mother's bank account during hospice. Here's how I got it back. See you then. And remember, trust documents, not promises.